It is the John Phillips Show. Johnny is on vacation. He's back on Monday. It's Randy Wang here. The phone number to join us is 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. You can email us at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com and search for the John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts. Another bombshell has dropped in the ever-worsening political future of anyone associated with the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority.
No!
Specifically, the CEO that was appointed by Karen Bass, Valicia Adams-Kellum.
Doctor.
Excuse me, Dr. Valicia Adams-Kellum. By the way, another Karen Bass appointee that as soon as she appointed her to this job got a massive raise. We paid Valicia Adams-Kellum, Dr. Valicia Adams-Kellum, $430,000 a year to not fix homelessness. And earlier this year, there was quite the bombshell that dropped about her before she all of a sudden said, I'm resigning at the end of the year, and LA County pulled out the funding from LAHSA, where it turns out that Valicia Adams-Kellum wrote a check from LAHSA to a nonprofit run by her husband, which is about as corrupt as it gets. What do you know? There's more there. There has been some great investigating by LAist, which is KPCC, the NPR station down here. They actually have been the ones digging into this. They're the ones that broke that story, and they broke this story, where LAHSA, under the tutelage of Dr. Valicia Adams-Kellum, who comes from a crooked homeless nonprofit in Venice, had arranged for $800,000 to pay off two whistleblowers that were going to sue the city and sue LAHSA for a whole bunch of misconduct. Well, now all of this information is finally being made public about exactly what happened and why your tax dollars went to pay off two whistleblowers who are ready to blow the whistle on everything that was going on at the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, an agency that fails audit after audit, can't tell you where any of the money is spent, but Karen Bass still is making sure that of all the things she cuts in her budget, she's not cutting the budget that's going to LAHSA. She needs to increase it because now that the county is pulled out.
No!
LAHSA arranged for $800,000 to be paid to two different whistleblowers, the former Chief Financial and Administrative Officer Christina Dixon and former IT and data official Emily Vaughn Henry, so they could settle these claims before all of the allegations were made public, which I don't like that to begin with. They can use public money to settle a lawsuit against whistleblowers who are about to tell us all about public corruption. Well, eventually this stuff does get out. So what exactly is being alleged? Because we already know what Valicia Adams-Kellum did in the past, where she has not given clear data as to where any of this money has gone, rubber stamped a check to her husband's nonprofit, is cashing a huge salary. What else could she have done that we don't know about? And remember, everything you hear about Valicia Adams-Kellum, just remember that she was personally handpicked and appointed to this job by Karen Bass. There are pictures of Karen Bass locking arms with Valicia Adams-Kellum.
Doctor.
Excuse me. So, Valicia Adams-Kellum, one of the allegations from these whistleblowers is that she pushed out all of the experienced staff to hire her unqualified friends and former subordinates from her previous job into high-level, high-salary LAHSA roles. When you want to talk about the homelessness industrial complex, here you go. Karen Bass puts in charge of the LA City, LA County Joint Homeless Agency, someone who ran one of these homeless nonprofits that got a whole bunch of money from the city and the county. She then, as soon as she gets that job, fires everyone that was there in top management and puts in her friends who don't know what they're doing so they can cash in as well. One of those hires allegedly used their personal cell phone for all official communications, which is a violation of policy because we can't get public records off their cell phone. Also, a LAHSA official repeatedly withheld accurate data about Mayor Karen Bass's signature homelessness program, Inside Safe. I love this. So why exactly would LAHSA be withholding data about Inside Safe, the whole thing that Karen Bass is touting as a success? Well, because, quote, according to the whistleblower complaint, because Valicia Adams-Kellum did not want Karen Bass to look bad.
Oh, you're so optimistic.
Because the numbers that they've been throwing at you for Inside Safe aren't nearly as rosy as they want you to believe, because we drive around every day. We see Los Angeles, and it really doesn't look a whole lot better than it did 2 years ago.
What a wonderful way to start your day.
Now, previous reporting shows that officials withheld Inside Safe transparency reports, not just from the public, but from the LA City Council. The City Council, which is supposed to be an equal governing body, could not get the information as to what exactly happened with all of this money that was going to lease the hotels and the motels, and if we have done anything positive with it. We know, thanks to Housing First rules, all of these hotels and motels have turned into government-funded drug dens, where you see quite a few body bags coming right out of there. No wonder that they didn't want to tell you. You got to remember, this is all sold to us as temporary housing. Then they moved to permanent supportive housing, which is another nonsensical issue. But people have been staying a lot longer because we're not solving any of their problems. We're just paying for them to be in a motel every single night. And you know what a lot of these motel people do? They're still at the encampments to get more drugs. So Dr. Valicia Adams-Kellum, didn't want Karen Bass to look bad. So even though she is a public official appointed by the mayor that's supposed to be held to account by the county and the city council, she didn't want anybody seeing what the real numbers were for Karen Bass's Inside Safe, which has been a colossal waste of money and is one of the reasons why the city of LA is in a $1 billion budget shortfall.
It's not a namsy-pamsy thing.
It's really not. So apparently, according to one of the claims in this whistleblower letter, Valicia Adams-Kellum retaliated against an employee for not being willing to hide the number of clients being served by Inside Safe. What does it say when someone appointed to run LA's homelessness agency at $430,000 a year is openly retaliating against employees that don't want to hide the numbers from any kind of oversight? It's a grift. It's always been a grift, and it's time that we stop wasting money on all this. I applaud Tracy Park, who came on this program yesterday, who said, where's the place we need to look for all the money when it comes to these budget cuts? It's not getting rid of street services. It's not getting rid of the civilian workforce at LAPD. It's not closing the animal shelters. It's the homeless budget that we can't even account for any of the money that goes anywhere, including that $430,000 a year that went to Valicia Adams-Kellum. Another allegation is that Adams-Kellum asked LAHSA's top IT official to violate record retention laws by deleting 2 emails that had been sent to Adams-Kellum's LAHSA email account. The whistleblower letter claims that this was intended to protect the person who had emailed Adams-Kellum. The emails were sent in violation of the city's communication policies regarding using personal email for official business, which means she did not want people seeing who she was talking to, what kind of deals she was making, because this is the rainmaker. She was the one that decided where all of these billions of homeless dollars goes, the money from the city, the money from the county, and the money from the state. And so if you're connected, like you're one of the nonprofits that she's friends with, well, then you're going to get really, really rich. As much of a failure as it is with homelessness in the entire state of California, never forget how many people got rich off the suffering of the people that are on the streets. Adams-Kellum also engaged in, quote, inappropriate and unethical behavior at a conference in Washington, D.C. Okay, I'd like a little more clarification on what that means. Someone get a little drunky? Someone get a little inappropriate? Someone pull a Rick Jacobs? What happened here? One of the whistleblowers reported the behavior to Human Resources around August 2023, according to her claim, which is only, by the way, A few months after she got appointed to this job, Adams-Kellum subsequently retaliated against this employee for reporting the incident, according to the claim letter. Okay, these violate so many California labor laws, including all the whistleblower laws that we have. And, how many webinars have you had to take at your job this year to talk about retaliation in the workplace, talk about harassment in the workplace, and dealing with HR? And look what's going on at the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority. She acted inappropriate, an employee reported it, and that employee got retaliated against. And the only way to shut them up so you wouldn't hear about this is to give them $800,000, except now we're hearing about it as well. But hey, they got $800,000. The apparent description of Adams-Kellum's alleged misbehavior at the conference was redacted by LAHSA attorneys, which a public records attorney says is unlawful. So when this information came out, LAHSA's attorneys blacked out what exactly it is alleged that she did at some function in D.C. What was Felicia Adams-Kellum doing?
Doctor.
Excuse me. Can't forget that she's a doctor. A doctor of what exactly? A doctor in the same sense that Barbara Ferrer is a doctor?
Next slide.
Maybe. Anything else from this whistleblower complaint? Oh, here's probably my favorite one. Felicia Adams-Kellum wanted to spend public money on an open bar at LAHSA's holiday party and responded angrily when told that that would be an improper use of taxpayer dollars and create a legal liability for LAHSA. Okay, I think we know what the inappropriate behavior at D.C. was. Someone likes the sauce. Adams-Kellum then allegedly suggested a vendor pay for all the alcohol. When told that that would be a conflict of interest, Adams-Kellum allegedly got angry again. So these are all claims that were about to come out with two whistleblower complaints from two different employees of the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority. And when this was about to come out, what did LAHSA do with your taxpayer dollars to make sure that Felicia Adams-Kellum and Karen Bass didn't look bad?
No.
They used $800,000 of money that's supposed to go help the homeless to silence these two employees. This stuff is corrupt as it gets. And it is time that we stop funding this, because this is where your money's going. All the money that's supposed to help the people on Skid Row, this is where it's going. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. You know, another thing I'd love to point out about the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority is that according to audits from Judge Carter, the guy that's overseeing why all the money's been wasted on homelessness in L.A. City and L.A. County, LAHSA, which was run by Felicia Adams-Kellum, who apparently has done a whole lot of inappropriate things and tried to hide data so you didn't know what a failure Karen Bass's Inside Safe was. She gave cash advances to a whole bunch of these homeless service providers, these nonprofits that were supposed to pay back the money. Well, one of those agencies, People Assisting the Homeless, they gave over $8.2 million and have only got $40,000 back. Another one is St. Joseph Center, where they gave out more than $2.8 million and have only got $120,000 back. Why is St. Joseph Center interesting? Well, because that's the organization that Felicia Adams-Kellum ran before Karen Bass appointed her to LAHSA at a salary of $430,000 a year. Isn't it interesting, too, that Felicia Adams-Kellum said she's resigning, but she actually hasn't resigned yet and won't resign till the end of the year? Feel like that resignation is going to come real soon now, but we'll see. Hey, look at this, everyone. 790 KABC welcomes Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass at the Dolby Theater on November 14th. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, but right now, call in number 9 at 1-888-790-5222. Gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Live Nation. Good luck dialing. Let's take a call here. Let's go to Mark in San Jose. Mark, hello.
Hi, how you doing, Randy?
Doing great.
All right. You're doing a good job doing the show. And I would like to say to everybody out there that you have a right to do a public comment in any city you want to. You don't have to live in that city. and you can make a public comment at any board of supervisors in any county in California. You don't have to live in the county. And so what I'm asking you and everybody listening to me to do, if they have that opportunity and that time slot open to do that, and ask them to work together with Tom Homan and ICE to arrest any judge, harboring illegal aliens, and to, work with them to help get the illegal aliens out of our nation, starting with the gangbangers. So let's make this happen, guys. It's on public record, and you'll have a 2-minute shot at it. And with God, all things are possible. That's what Jesus said.
Well, it's an interesting idea, Mark, but let me tell you one of the issues with that. From watching several hours of LA City Council meetings every single week to study for this show, public officials don't pay attention to anything that's said at public comment. Now, if you call their office and you send letters and you light them up on social media, they'll pay attention. But those public comment hearings, they're not paying attention to a word anybody's saying. But I really appreciate the idea, and thanks so much for the call, Mark. Appreciate it. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. When we come back, have we got a story for you? Because ABC 7 in the Bay Area has been, for the last 5 months, trying to provide the public records of Ricardo Lara's gallivanting around the world at fancy resorts on your dime.
I'm very kind of sketchy.
And guess what? Ricardo Lara doesn't want to provide the receipts, and they're obfuscating every single which way. They've got an incredible report, and we've got it for you next. If you'd like to email us, you could do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Will writes in and says, how else could that incompetent crook, Karen Bass, keep the fraud spigot wide open for her and her ghouls at LAHSA without ripping off cash from the animal shelters? Totally right about that. We're not defunding LAHSA, but I think the city council is going to try to stop this. But what did she want to defund? She wanted to defund animal shelters and domestic violence shelters so she could keep the grift going for her friends. Yeah, it's really getting to a point where the people who are in charge of all the spending on homelessness in L.A. and San Francisco and Oakland, it is as corrupt as it gets. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. Let's go to Richard in Sylmar. Richard, hello.
Hello. I propose that we should organize a voter initiative to cut payroll of city council, mayor, and all the appointed head of department take 50% pay cut. And the second highest paid people take 25% pay cut. Third person gets 20%. And this should save some of the job for the people who actually do the work.
I think that's such a great idea, and I think we should get on that immediately. And I love the idea of doing a citizens initiative forcing these pay cuts for these incredibly overpaid positions. LA City Council, $220,000 a year to start. The mayor, $300,000. Supervisors, $300,000. That is way too much money. Thanks so much for the call. I had this idea a few years ago, and I do really like it. So we have elected officials that make ridiculous salaries. And it is a very expensive place to live. But the average salary of someone in Los Angeles isn't $200,000 a year. No, the average salary for someone in LA is about $70,000. So my idea is that local elected officials should only be able to make what the median salary is for their constituents. That way, they have an active, vested interest. If they want to make more money, the only way to do it is to improve the lives of their constituents. I don't know if that'll actually go anywhere, but I do like that idea. Now on to one of the most corrupt employees in the entire state of California.
I'm very kind of sketchy.
Ricardo Lara. This year, we've heard about Ricardo Lara's over 40 trips of taxpayer-funded travel without any actual knowledge of what he was doing there that was benefiting the states.
Absolutely.
This is the California Insurance Commissioner that oversaw the destruction of the insurance industry in this state. And every single fix that he has not made it easier to get insurance, but has made it more expensive. And all these companies know that they get whatever they want out of this guy. Well, Ricardo Lara went all around the world several times. Didn't tell us why. Always said, it's for some very important conference. We don't know what the benefit was. Some of this wasn't even insurance industry related. Sometimes it wasn't like a climate conference, but he was going to Pride in New York to see DJ Kitty Glitter. And we paid for that for some reason. Well, ABC 7 in the Bay Area has been trying to get those records, those receipts, exactly how much was spent, and what did they say? When you are working as a government official, you have to go to HR and you have to expense what this money was for, why taxpayers had to pay for Ricardo Lara to go to Bogota, Colombia. Yeah, just remember that one. Let's find out if they've uncovered anything after digging and digging and digging for months. Here is an incredible report from Stephanie Sierra and ABC 7 Eyewitness News in the Bay Area.
Focus on fairness, on transparency, and getting answers.
I mean, we're not playing hide and seek, I believe, but it seems like somebody is.
Questions are being raised tonight about transparency surrounding California's top insurance boss. A 7-on-your-side investigation involving Ricardo Lara's taxpayer-funded travel around the world during key insurance hearings is still trying to get answers.
That's right. They started looking at this because I'm sure you all remember there was a state Senate hearing on insurance. We're in the middle of an insurance crisis. The whole Los Angeles area, was on fire. The Palisades burned, Altadena burned. And at a hearing about the insurance crisis, Ricardo Lara was a no-show because he was in Bermuda at an insurance conference for a 15-minute speaking slot. And that was just one of many, 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 many trips paid for by you. Ricardo Lara has been living large on your dime.
A significant chunk of Lara's travel records remain missing, and a state audit is on the line. 7 on your side, Stephanie Sierra is here with an update on the work that's being done to get answers. Stephanie.
Yes, Alma and Dan, for more than 4 months now, we've been requesting records on the commissioner's travel expenses.
That's not how public records request is supposed to work. By the way, this was the other nonsense going on with Karen Bass, where she wouldn't give out her text messages and said that she deleted them. If you're going to be a public official, we, the public, are entitled to know what you're spending our money on and who you're talking to. And when you obfuscate, there should be real punishments for that.
Specifically, the business purpose for the most expensive taxpayer-funded trips. And week after week, we've failed to get any direct response. So now we're wondering, why is it so hard to get this list?
Well, maybe there weren't any legitimate business reasons for Ricardo Lara to go to Chile. Maybe Ricardo Lara just wanted to be a party boy.
As you know, Michael, we for months now, we've been trying to get answers as to the business purpose for the commissioner's international taxpayer-funded travel. And we have yet to get a direct answer from your office with our specific questions. Why is that?
Well, Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara is a national leader. He's a global leader.
Okay, whoever this guy is, and I think this is his director of communications, Michael Solano, that is one of the most disgusting things I've ever heard in how much fawning and praise he has for Ricardo Lara, who has been nothing but terrible at his job.
Well, Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara is a national leader. He's a global leader.
He's neither of those things. He has overseen the destruction of insurance in this state, and he has spent most of his time partying around the world on our dime. And let's not forget the fancy dinners Ricardo Lara was attending to with CEOs of the insurance industry.
This is California Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara's Deputy Commissioner of Communications, Michael Soller.
Michael Soller, excuse me, not Solano. Michael Soller is the guy who said this about Ricardo Lara.
Is a national leader. Well, Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara is a national leader. He's a global leader.
You know what? I'm going to save that because at the end of the year, we always do the drops of the year where we, the best drops of the year are going to get nominated, which is the best drop of the year, which will probably be.
She called me a crime boss.
But what we like to do is we take a whole hour and play every drop that I collected and put in my special folder for the year. And then we get to remember all the nonsense that went on in 2025. So I'm going to put Laura Global Leader, and we're just going to play this. And John's not even going to know what it is, but it'll remind me to tell him about this nonsense. Global Leader. There we go. It's in the folder. Let's continue.
This is California Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lada's Deputy Commissioner of Communications, Michael Soller, a staffer we've been emailing over the past year while struggling to get answers about the state's insurance crisis.
You remember the last thing ABC7 was trying to do was just get an interview with Ricardo Lara. Then they did a story about how he keeps ducking interviews and won't talk to anybody. And then he got shamed into showing us his face on Zoom and didn't give any answers to why the insurance mess is such a disaster.
Including most recently, why the commissioner was absent for nearly all the Senate insurance hearings since assuming office while traveling abroad or cross-country.
It's just so brazen. It's so blatant. And you can get away with this in a one-party state with zero oversight. What were Ricardo Lara's qualifications to be insurance commissioner? He had none.
I'm very kind of sketchy.
But he got elected to this position twice. We got to do better than this.
Or why the business purpose for nearly a dozen all-inclusive taxpayer-funded trips to places like Paris, Bogota, and reportedly Chile.
When you are a statewide insurance commissioner, what business do you have going to all these international conferences? Because we know no business is getting discussed there. These are junctions for people to go party.
Has yet to be made public. This
and where is he going again?
Taxpayer-funded trips to places like Paris, Bogota, and reportedly Chile.
Bogota, huh? Bogota. What's in Bogota, I wonder? I can't say anything, but I wonder why he went there.
Has yet to be made public. This was last month.
So I'll provide you a complete list. Every single trip has a business purpose, and it's led to really having a full picture of what's happening.
No, that is, boy, this guy, this is about the worst spokesperson you can imagine. I mean, he's got an impossible job making Ricardo Lara look good, but he's traveling to all of these different places, including Pride in New York with DJ Kitty Glitter, to get a full picture of how insurance is changing all around the world. No.
These are documents that are.
Let's not forget, this is the guy that said he wouldn't use campaign money to pay for his rent in Sacramento, and then he did. And this is a guy who also promised not to take any money from the insurance industry, and he did.
These are documents that are held.
Ricardo Lara is about as corrupt as you get.
Within the department that should be easily accessible.
I appreciate that, and we do take the process of transparency and public records really seriously. We want to make sure that we're answering a question. If we're not, I'll certainly follow up on that.
She's been asking him for 4 months. That is not, we take this seriously. That is, we're going to outlive you. We're going to make this. We're going to make it so everyone forgets about this issue. But luckily, you've got some really incredible reporters in the I-team and the investigative team at ABC7 in the Bay Area. They are some of the best.
We reached out not once, not twice, but 3 times since Soller said that. 2 weeks went by, no response. Earlier in the interview, I asked,
3 months ago, we made this initial request, and we never got that direct answer. Is there a reason for that?
These are the receipts that, by the way, they have these receipts. They have to share them with human resources, and they don't want anyone to know because maybe there was no legitimate business purpose for the insurance commissioner to go to Chile.
Well, I know you've been making public records requests, and we've been working really expeditiously to respond to those requests.
No, you haven't. It's been 4 months.
I hope you feel that we are responding with records.
To be frank with you, I haven't felt that way.
Here's why. Let's go back to January 13th of this year. That's when our first records request was sent to the California Department of Insurance. In the weeks that followed, we checked back again and again and again, each time with specific questions about a series of international trips. It was more than a month later when Michael Soller first responded. And instead of answering what the business purpose was for those trips or if any regulatory action came as a result, our team got an email of what appeared to be a copy and paste of the commissioner's bio.
Unbelievable. Why are we paying for a communications director if they're not communicating with the media on a very important issue about public trust? This is so disgusting. And this guy, he's termed out. Ricardo Lara is leaving. Hopefully we don't elect him to the LA County Board of Supervisors. But we cannot keep doing this. We cannot elect these buffoons, these corrupt fools to these very important positions. Maybe you never thought about insurance commissioner before you voted. Well, now we know how important that position is, and next time we got to get this right. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. We'll take your calls, and, of course, we'll find out more if ABC7 got anywhere with these emails about why Ricardo Lara had official business in Bogota. If you'd like to email us, you could do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Paul writes in and says, hey, Randy, Bogota is known for its blend of colonial history, modern urban life, and a lot of cocaine. You said it. I didn't say it. You said it. Let's go back to this report on Ricardo Lara avoiding public records requests about his taxpayer-funded travel to places like Chile and Paris and Bogota. And let's not forget DJ Kitty Glitter at Pride in New York City. He won't tell us why he went to these places, what the benefit was, and won't show us the receipts. And ABC7 has been digging into this for months.
So we followed up again twice, in part because the commissioner's former staffer, a manager who processed these records at CDI and CalHR, told us they should be easily accessible.
The department's having stuff in the cloud. So a lot of this information is really literally at the touch of somebody's fingertips.
But the next day, we were told we have conducted an exhaustive search and found no records of attendance at these events. Yet, we found the commissioner was pictured at nearly all of them online, on the front of press releases, and all over social media.
We didn't know even, we don't have any proof that he went to these events. It's on his damn Instagram. Social media only gets you in trouble, especially when you're as careless as somebody like Ricardo freaking Lara.
I'm very kind of sketchy.
But you can't blame him for being a corrupt buffoon. We elected him to the California legislature, and we elected him to this position. This is on us.
In some cases, even his own public schedule at the time noted he was there. To give Soller the benefit of the doubt, we followed up again.
It was arguably one of the most unproductive email exchanges I've had with a government agency that campaigns on promises of transparency.
Wow, that says a lot.
We followed up again and again. I feel like a broken record here, but each time the question's very simple. What was the business purpose and what happened as a result?
And his last email shared no answer, but this: I'm glad we were able to help you.
Don't they realize that they're going to do a story about this? They don't care. They feel that they're untouchable because there's no oversight from the legislature. There's no oversight from Gavin Newsom. Nobody in power in Sacramento cares what Ricardo Lara is doing, so he shouldn't have to be held accountable. So thank goodness for Stephanie Sierra. Thank goodness for ABC7 for doing this, but how brazen can you be?
Fast forward 3 weeks.
Maybe it's because there was no actual business purpose for Ricardo Lara going to all these places.
Fast forward 3 weeks later to this interview.
Again, our hope was just to try to hear your side.
And I really appreciate that because we're going to get back to you with information about all the folks he's met with here in California because that's what.
I wonder how much this stooge makes. We got to look this up. Anyone that knows how to look up those government salary websites, Michael Soller at the Department of Insurance. How much is this jackass making, and how exactly does he sleep at night? I'm assuming on a pile of dollar bills. We'll come back to this later on in the show because I'm not done asking questions, and neither is Stephanie Sierra at ABC7 because we want to know what was the point of Ricardo Lara going to all of these fancy events and these fancy resorts on your dime.
Absolutely.
This is The John Phillips Show.